process of making a television episode can be laborious, and the process of shooting a film is even more time-consuming. With large sums of money involved, sticking to a strict shooting schedule is critical in completing a film or television episode. Unfortunately, there is always a chance that scheduling will be thrown off completely by a single scene that just doesn't go according to plan. Here are 10 famous movie and TV scenes that took forever to shoot. Daredevil. The Netflix series Daredevil has proven to be much darker and grittier than the 2004 film. The show's dark tone is typically accompanied with awesome fight scenes. The brilliant choreography is typical of the show, but one particular scene was so intricate and lengthy that it took quite a bit longer to film than the typical fight scene. The series exceeded expectations with its second episode, in a 5-minute tracking shot in which Daredevil fights off multiple foes in an apartment building hallway. The short scene took 12 takes and an entire day to pull off. 3 of those shots were all the way through, and one of those 3 was what viewers saw at home. Completing a scene in a single take without any cuts is difficult enough, but the precision of each fight move along with the maneuvering of a handful of characters required careful planning and an extra long shoot day. The Usual Suspects. Sometimes a scene can be shot and reshot so many times that even the director can't take it anymore. The lineup scene in 1995's The Usual Suspects was one of those scenes. The 5 titular suspects are ushered into the lineup room, each expected to say the same line. Due to the actors laughing, continued flatulence, and general goofiness, the scene had to be shot numerous times as director Bryan Singer wanted the scene to be serious. Actors Benicio del Toro, Stephen Baldwin, and Kevin Pollak had the biggest problem keeping a straight face during the scene. It seemed there was no end to the actors goofing off and taking what should have been a solemn scene into a giggle fest. Singer grew exhausted from the entire process and decided to just use one of the shots that showed the actors laughing in the final cut. Spiderman. It is hard to deny that 2002's Spiderman is one of the best comic book movies ever. Much of its success can be attributed to Tobey Maguire's flawless portrayal of high school nerd turned superhero Peter Parker. One of the most memorable scenes from the film is the moment Parker uses his brand new radioactive spider abilities in public. After love interest Mary Jane slips in the cafeteria, losing her grip on her lunch tray, Peter Parker swoops in to catch each item and even Mary Jane from falling to the ground. The perfectly constructed scene was not the work of special effects, but rather filming the scene over and over again until Tobey Maguire was able to catch every item on the tray while also catching Kirsten Dunst. Director Sam Raimi opted to forego CGI in favor of practical effects, such as a sticky substance placed on the items and the genuine skill of Maguire. Getting the scene right took time, but it was well worth it. The Gold Rush. Charlie Chaplin may have seemed like a goofball of few words, but beyond his comedic performances, he was a dedicated filmmaker who was committed to making suburb films. The 1925 film The Gold Rush, in which Chaplin was the writer, director, producer, and star, was one of his many films that highlighted his perfectionist attitude. In the scene where Chaplin cooks his own boot and then proceeds to eat it, he was committed to getting it right no matter how long it took. He did the scene so many times that he made himself violently ill. Even though the boot was made of licorice and not leather, it still led Chaplin to the hospital for insulin shock. The Shining. Filmmaker Stanley Kubrick required a lot from his actors, most notably the stamina to keep up with the countless takes Kubrick demanded of them. The Shining was an especially hectic film shoot, as the director wanted to take Stephen King's novel and turn it into his own nightmarish vision. In one scene, the Overlook Hotel's chef Halloran explains to little Danny Torrance what the term The Shining means. The 4-minute scene took over 148 takes. Why Kubrick found the need to put actors Scatman Crothers and 6-year-old Danny Lloyd through so many takes is anyone's guess, as the scene is fairly straightforward and uncomplicated. X-Men Apocalypse. Quicksilver became the breakout star of X-Men Days of Future Past, thanks in part to the fantastic slow-motion scene which showed off his speedy powers. With X-Men Apocalypse, the filmmakers decided to up the ante on Quicksilver by giving him an even more elaborate power-displaying scene. Director Bryan Singer expanded Quicksilver's playground from a kitchen to the entire campus of Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. With extra characters, gags, and locations, the scene required much more time to complete. While there were plenty of special effects, the filmmakers wanted to include as many practical effects as possible, making the process even lengthier. The single scene took 20 days to shoot in its entirety. Actor Evan Peters and director Singer were game the entire time just to give audiences an even better Quicksilver scene than the last. Game of Thrones. There are some scenes that need to be flawless, especially when that scene has the potential to elate or disappoint diehard fans of a series. In the 6th season of HBO's Game of Thrones, the resurrection of Jon Snow became a vital scene that needed to hit just the right note. The scene only lasts a few minutes in the episode titled Home, but actress Carice Van Houten stated it took over 50 takes to get right. While she was exhausted from the extended shoot and lengthy effort placed on such a short scene, she managed to endure. Kit Harington, who plays Jon Snow, had to go through the shoot in the buff, which was not a complaint as he spent the entire time laying down while being bathed by Hooten. Psycho. Alfred Hitchcock's classic film Psycho terrified audiences when it was released in 1960. It was an entirely new type of scary movie, and it became the template for slasher films since. The most iconic scene in the film is Janet Leigh's shower death scene. The music, the quick cuts, and the water drain dissolving into a shot of Leigh's vacant eye are all the makings of a seminal scene. To achieve this unforgettable moment of film, the 3-minute scene took 77 takes. Taken from every conceivable angle, Hitchcock wanted to be sure to create anxiety for the audiences by showing as much and as little of her death as possible. Even after the tedious shoot, the editing took even longer, as the scene includes 50 cuts to produce the intense terror. Some Like It Hot. Some Like It Hot is the classic film in which Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis witness a murder and decide to disguise themselves as women in a traveling jazz band. While doing that, they run into Marilyn Monroe. Monroe was never considered a great actress, but her popularity stemmed from her beauty and her kittenish quality. Remembering lines was often problematic for the blonde bombshell, especially with 2 scenes in Some Like It Hot, which took an unreasonable amount of time simply because she could not remember the order in which the words were to be spoken. The line, "It's me, sugar," took 47 takes, while "Where's the bourbon" took a whopping 59 attempts. Although those 2 lines are far from the most complex moments in Some Like It Hot, they were the 2 that took the longest to film. The Social Network. The 2010 film The Social Network included a dialogue-heavy script by the always verbose Aaron Sorkin and was directed by the perfectionist David Fincher. The combination may be a recipe for an exceptional film, but it also means long hours for the actors and crew. While Fincher is known to have demanded an aggressive amount of takes for a single scene with his films Zodiac and Gone Girl, The Social Network's breakup scene may have gone above and beyond Fincher's usual request with a shocking 99 takes. The 8-page scene runs about 6 minutes and revolves around Mark Zuckerberg, played by Jesse Eisenberg's breakup with his girlfriend, played by Rooney Mara. While Mara worried that the excessive takes would lead to robotic performances, she was pleased with the long shoot as it resulted in a great scene. There's our list. What do you think? Which scenes did we forget? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the Screen Rant YouTube channel to see more great videos like this one.